1.4 Regulating Act of 1773. Introduction. The Regulating Act was passed in the British Parliament in June 1773. It was passed to control the territories of the East India Company majorly in Bengal. Background. 1. Financial crisis and famine. The East India Company was in severe financial crisis and had asked a loan of £1 million from the British government in 1772. There was a terrible famine in Bengal where a huge population perished. 2. Allegations. Allegations of corruption and nepotism were rampant against company officials. Lawlessness increased in Bengal. 3. First Anglo-Mysore War. The company was defeated by the Mysore's Hyder Ali during the First Anglo-Mysore War, which took place during 1767-1769. Objective. The main objectives of the Regulating Act 1773 was to bring the management of the company under the control of British Crown and Parliament, to introduce reforms in the constitution of the company at home, that is in England, and to introduce reforms in the company's government in India. Features. 1. Constitution of the company. A. Territorial possessions. B. Company directors. C. Voting rights. 2. Company's government. A. Executive authority. B. Legislative authority. C. Judicial authority. 3. Other features. 1. Constitution of the company. A. Territorial possessions. The Act permitted the company to retain its territorial possessions in India but sought to regulate the activities and functioning of the company. It did not take over the power completely. Hence, it was called regulating. B. Company directors. The company directors were directed to make all correspondence on revenue, civil and military matters with Indian authorities before the Secretary of State in England. The term of the directors were increased from 1 year to 4 years. 1/4 of the directors were to retire every year. C. Voting rights. Certain changes were introduced in the voting rights of the proprietors. Only those proprietors who held shares of £1,000 were given the right of vote. In simple, proprietors who held a stock of €1,000 were given 1 vote, proprietors who held a stock of €3,000 were given 2 votes, proprietors who held a stock of €6,000 were given 3 votes, and proprietors who held a stock of €10,000 or more than €10,000 were given 4 votes. 2. Company's government. A. Executive authority. The Governor of Bengal was designated as the Governor-General of Bengal. Warren Hastings was the first Governor-General of Bengal, wherein William was the last Governor of Bengal. The presidencies of Bombay and Madras were brought under the control and superintendence of the Governor, General and Council in matters of war and peace. The presidencies of Bombay and Madras could not make any orders for commencing hostilities or declare war with any Indian princes. This act provided for the process of centralization. Governors of Bombay and Madras presidencies were subordinate to the Governor-General of Bengal. B. Legislative authority. This act granted legislative powers to companies' executive authority in India. The Governor, General and Council were empowered to make rules and regulations and issue ordinances for the good governance of the settlement of Fort William and other subordinate factories.
C. Judicial authority. The Regulating Act empowered the British Crown to establish a Supreme Court at Calcutta in 1774. Sir Elijah Impey was the first Chief Justice. Judges were to come from England. The Supreme Court was a court of record. It was conferred civil, criminal, ecclesiastical, admiralty, equity, and writ jurisdiction. The appeals from court could be filed in the Supreme King, in Council. Cases. Raja Nanda Kumar Trial Case, 1775. Background. Raja Nanda Kumar was a big zamindari and he was loyal to the English company. 3 out of 4 members of Governor-General's Council were opponents of Warren Hastings. Sir Francis Clavering and Manson instigated Nanda Kumar to bring charges of bribery and corruption against Warren Hastings. So, Nanda Kumar gave a complaint to Francis that Hastings accepted a bribery of 1 lakh for appointing his son Gurudas as Diwani. Another allegation of bribe against Hastings that he accepted 2.5 lakhs from Mani Begum as bribe for appointing her as guardian of minor Nawab. Charges against Hastings were proved. This event made bitter enmity between Hastings and Nanda Kumar. A few months later Nanda Kumar was arrested with Fawkes and Radhacharan for conspiracy. Trial. In the trial Fawkes was fined but Nanda Kumar's judgment was reserved because again he was charged for forgery as manipulated by Hastings. Judgment. Sir Elijah Impey delivered the judgment. Death sentence was given to Raja Nanda Kumar. Several efforts were made to save the life of Nanda Kumar, but all went in vain. Patna Case, 1777. Facts. Shahbaz Beg Khan, Afghanistan, came to India and served in company's army and earned wealth and settled in Patna and married Nadara Begum. He expressed his desire to adopt his nephew Bahadur Beg as his son. But before giving effect to his wish, he died. After this both Nadara Begum and Bahadur Beg claimed the whole property. Issue. Bahadur Beg filed petition in the provincial court at Calcutta. The court ruled the property to be divided into 4 parts and 1 was given to Nadara Begum and rest to Bahadur Beg. But Begum did not accept this. She appealed to Supreme Court and filed a suit against Bahadur Beg, Qazi and Mufti for assaulting her. Judgment. Court imprisoned the accused as they could not pay damages of 3 lakhs to the plaintiff. Later they were released according to the Act of Settlement in 1781. Kossijura Case, 1779. Facts: Raja Sundaranarayan was Zamindari of Kossijura. He was to pay a fixed sum of money as land revenue to the company annually. He was under heavy debt to Kasanath Babu. Kasanath could not recover money from Raja. Issue: Kasanath filed a debt suit against Raja in Supreme Court. Actions: Supreme Court issued a writ of habeas for the arrest of Raja, who escaped or absconded. Supreme Court sent sheriff and 60 men to execute the writ. Raja used force and drove away these officers. It created outrages upon the place of worship, so sheriff and his fellows were confined for 3 days. At last Kasanath Babu withdrew his suit against Raja of Kossijura in view of serious consequences arising out of this case. Significance: 1. This act brought the affairs of the company under the control of the British Parliament. 2. This act led to an end of the arbitrary rule of the company and provided a framework for company's rule. 3. The company's staffs and officers were given a pay raise. Defects: 1. The Governor-General had no veto power. 2. The powers of the Supreme Court were not well defined. 3. This act did not address the concerns of the Indian population who were paying revenue to the company. 5. Corruption among the officials of the company still continued. Conclusion: by this act, a written constitution was introduced for the first time for the governance of the company in India. To conclude, the administration of the areas under the company's rule was no longer a private affair of the company's